And so let's talk about relationship for just a second. So I want you to get this principle in your spirit, because it's not just going to bless you in your relationship with God, but it's going to bless you in every relationship in your life. Here's the principle. All relationships are built on the foundation of four concepts or four things. The first thing is this: communication. If you're married, you already know this. If you've ever had a relationship in your life, you already know this. Every relationship is built on the foundation of communication. So how does that apply to your relationship with God? The question is, how often do you communicate with God? I'll wait for y'all to think about that for a second. How often do you spend time with God? Because the second principle is about trust. Now, everybody knows that every intimate relationship is built on the concept of trust. Do you trust me? And do I trust you? So let's get to this and how it relates to God. The question is this: do you trust God? And not only do you trust God, but does God trust you? See, this is what we really want to focus on, because I believe many people are praying and asking God to open up doors that carry much more responsibility than God actually trusts us to handle. See, some of us are praying for something great that God doesn't trust you to handle. So we're wondering, why isn't God answering our prayers? It's because we haven't invested in the relationship to the degree that God says, you know what, if I give you this responsibility, I can trust you with handling this. If I unleash you into your full purpose, I'll trust that you won't run from it. If I tell you what to do, I'll trust that you'll obey me. If I tell you to leave your father's house and go to a place that I'm getting ready to send you, that you haven't even seen yet, that you'll walk on faith, walk by faith, and step out without really knowing what you're doing or where you're going, simply because you trust me. So God is saying, just because you trust me, the question also is, do I trust you? And see, this is what relationship is about. It's a two-way street. It's about two people who are constantly, in an ongoing way, developing their communication. Not just me talking your head off, but you talking my head off. And we learn to communicate more effectively with each other. This is what you have to do with God. Secondly, you have to trust God. You have to be able to step out on faith like Peter, get off the boat and walk on water because Jesus is with you. You have to be willing to trust God. And God has to trust you. When God called Abraham, he said, come from out of your father's house, go to a place that I will send you, and I will make you a great nation. And from your seed, all the nations of the earth will be blessed. God trusted Abraham that Abraham would carry out the mission. When Jesus sent his disciples into the world, he said, go ye into all nations, teaching them and baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. God trusted the disciples with their assignment, with the mission. See, many people are asking God to trust you with stuff that you haven't invested in. Show God that you are trustworthy. Show God that you're trustworthy. Thirdly, spend some time with God. All relationships have to have this component in time. If you are married and you are not spending adequate time with your spouse, there is a breach right there. There is an opportunity for the enemy to come in, kick in the door, let himself in, cause some mess all in your relationship because you are neglecting the time factor. You can't neglect time. It's the same in your relationship with God. You have to spend time with God. You have to pray. Yeah, I know it's painful to get on your knees. Your knees get a little ashy on the, but you got to get on your knees sometimes. You got to labor before God. You got to spend some time with God in prayer and in worship and praising God, just saying thank you to God. You've got to do this to build your relationship with God. The same principles apply to any relationship. And then lastly is intimacy. This is the goal of every relationship. It is to develop closeness, to continue to grow closer with someone in your marriage, with your children, in your family, with God. These principles are still intact. Number 1, develop communication. Number 2, develop trust. Number 3, spend time. And number 4, develop that intimacy. Now, if you do these things, you will begin to build your relationship with God. So when Jesus says to them, depart from me, I never knew you, what he's saying is we didn't develop a relationship. We didn't communicate effectively. You might have talked to me, but did you allow me to talk to you? Did you wait after you prayed and meditated so you can hear me? No, you didn't do that. Did you trust me? You know, and did I develop a sense of trust with you? Was it a two-way street? Or did you dominate the conversation and all you do is offer up a million prayers and not allow God to speak back to you? And did we spend enough time with each other? You know, did we develop our intimacy?